Hey everybody, my name is Andrew Tran. I'm a marketing branding strategist. I help organizations, their teams, their team leaders deliver and execute on the challenges they're facing, from marketing campaigns to market entry activity, all the way through to strategy and planning. If you want to hit me up, check out my website. It's www.andrewtran.asia. You can find out a little bit more about me. You can book time with me. But until then, let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, today is a different episode. I wanted to serve it up to you guys a little bit differently, and it's because I feel like we've had a few guests on lately that really provided some massive value, and I wanted to put it through the lens of a particular industry, which is the travel, hospitality, tourism industry, and anything surrounding that kind of service-based industry as well. I think you guys are doing it really, really tough. A lot of jobs have been lost. A lot of money has been lost as well. So everyone's looking at ways to kind of, consolidate, save, and kind of try and figure out ways to move and navigate, move forward as well. So some of these guests, they've come on and they've dropped some really great knowledge around it. So I'm going to share these ones with you. I'll highlight some of these guests at the same time, and hopefully it adds value to what you're doing as well. And if it is, please feel free to share, like, comment. I would love to kind of get your thoughts on it. Always looking to improve that 1% each way, each time I do this. So look, without further ado, let's get on with the show. All right, this chat is with Oliver Woods. He is the strategy director for Red Square Digital. It's a digital agency. It's based in Vietnam. They do all this great work all around Southeast Asia region as well. So I got to sit down with him. We got to chat all about the pandemic, the lockdown that was happening all around this region as well. And he kind of gave away these really, really practical tips. One of them being about automated messages, like the ability, like if you've got these automated messages, to stop them immediately. He explains why. He also talks about some of the reason why you still want to do a bit of mass advertising to keep people in the loop as to what you're doing, what your brand is all about, what does it stand for. And he kind of summarizes it in like these two great tips that he provides as well. So it's something that I've also talked about to my clients, and it resonated with me really, really well. And I think it would resonate with you, especially if you're in that kind of service industry as well. So look, I hope you guys like it. Oliver Woods, episode 8, Red Square Digital. See you in the next one.
I know that you recently participated in a webinar a couple of days ago with yourself and Wes and another person as well. Tell us, to those who weren't there, like, what was it about?
So long story short, we did a webinar hosted by The Hive, which is a co-working space around Southeast Asia, on how businesses can react to COVID-19 and build out, tactics, strategies, kind of pivot your creative and your marketing. They kind of went beyond creative and marketing, really. Start pivoting your business, particularly in digital, to survive and thrive during COVID-19. Yeah.
Nice.
No, I think it was a good discussion. I mean, I think we discussed all sorts of stuff, right? One of the things that I highlighted, and I think, a takeaway that's really, really important right now for anyone doing business anywhere in the world, is turn off any automated marketing you're doing right now. If you're still sending out automated emails to onboard people, if you're still sending out automated SMSs, automated messages, chatbots, you've got to turn it all off. You've got to take control of the wheel yourself and manually do it right now, because otherwise the risk is you're going to really, really piss people off. You're going to make a mistake. You're going to say something to someone that's, you're going to wish someone happy birthday and they're in hospital, and it'll come across as being incredibly insensitive. So that was probably one of the key takeaways that I shared during that session. And as much as local is important, you've still got to do mass advertising. Yes, local advertising, getting your neighbors involved in your business. Yes, there's going to be this temporary downtime for the next few months, maybe 6 months, while COVID gets under control. But my point of view is, I think we're about to enter a 2 or 3 year long kind of condensed, crunched Great Depression like recession. It's probably going to be softer than the Great Depression, but already the unemployment numbers coming out of Israel, 23%. Australia is going to be at 15%. New Zealand's Treasury is saying it's around double digits, maybe 10, 12%. I'm sure those numbers are going to come out all around the region, all around the world soon. You've still got to do mass targeting. You can't just plan for the short term. You've got to really think, who are going to be my customers in 1 year time? Are they just going to be people in my neighborhood? Probably not. Once COVID-19 is over, people are still going to want to travel. People are still going to leave their districts, leave their neighborhood. So look, local is a good short-term angle. I think it's not good. It's absolutely necessary to pivot temporarily, but it can't be a long-term solution. You've got to keep up mass reach advertising if you want to be a successor and succeed during COVID.
You made a good point with regards to, you mentioned something about customers, for instance, and doing mass marketing, because people will still be traveling. People will still be doing those things prior to this particular situation. And you're right. Like, I think it comes back down to also, and I've said this in previous videos, is understanding who your customers are, knowing the fact that things have changed. Yes, it's changed. The customers that you once had in your persona decks have now kind of changed because of the situation.
For sure.
The hierarchy
For sure.
changed. So they just need to be temporarily adjusted. But this is where continual adjustment and iterative approach is so useful. And in the design space, we talk about design thinking and iterative design. And you can really apply that approach across anything that you do, whether or not it's strategy planning, whether or not it's specific tactical advertising to communication as well. So I think you made a really good point about that. So just to finish up, I want to give the audience, listeners, your contacts, 2 key tactical advice that you would give to anyone in any field right now going through this particular situation. How can they get through with what they know?
Number one, I think make the most of downtime. If your business is going a bit slower, use this time to do surgery on your website, surgery on your social analytics, surgery on your brand. Use this as a chance to audit everything that you've been doing in the last months, years even. Look at what's worked and what hasn't. Keep your team busy on looking at what's worked in the past, and then try and take the learnings from that audit and then see, okay, well, how can we use these based on the current situation, based on what we've learned? What's the gap? What's the proximate gap that you can really fill based on things that have worked in the past? Just because COVID's throwing everything up in the air doesn't mean that old tactics and old creative ideas aren't going to necessarily work. They just need to be tweaked and adapted. So I would say that using that audit and then using that audit to inform action is really is one of the most valuable things you can do right now. Yeah, particularly for people whose time is not being maximized, you can direct them to going into your Google Analytics, into your Facebook Insights. They can go into a big creative audit, look at all the ads you've run on print, on TV, on radio, take it all together, audit, see what works, what didn't, and then apply those learnings. I think the second idea and the second thing that's really important right now is don't go dark. I think it's, you can turn off existing campaigns that you're running. Fine. I totally agree with that. And one of the pieces of advice I said before is turn off anything that's automated. Stop doing business as usual activity. Good. But don't turn off 100% of your communications with your customers. They will forget you if you turn them off now. The most successful brands during the Great Depression in the 1920s and 30s, the brands that stayed active, that didn't forget about their customers, they stayed around. Yes, they changed how they communicated. A lot of brands in the 30s transferred from print to radio. Seeing the same thing happening here, right? People are transferring from offline to online and old online tactics to new online tactics. So just be a candle in the dark for your customers, both past, present, and future. If you turn everything off and by making everything go dark, you're risking being forgotten. And I think the risk of making a mistake and saying something insensitive is actually not as bad as being completely silent and being completely forgotten about in a few months' time. So yeah, really those 2 key takeaways: do surgery on your brand and marketing communications, on your performance, see what's worked in the past, try and adapt this into a plan of action for the next few weeks and months. Have all the things that have worked in the past in the back of your mind. It'll save you time from having to create wholly new stuff. Plus, it'll actually be stuff that's worked before. And really, it's that second thing. Be that candle in the dark. At minimum, you've got to have some light. You've got to let some light shine in. If you don't let some light shine in, you're not only making a strategic mistake from a marketing perspective, you're actually putting your business in jeopardy. You're potentially jeopardizing your employees as well. Yeah, that's probably the 2 pieces of advice I've been giving, not just here, but but to some of the clients and partners that Red Square's been working with in the past few weeks and few months.
So this episode is with Mark Pickering. He is the business director and creative strategist for Chimney, which is a group that's based all around the world, but they happen to have an office here in Singapore as well. And so with our chat, it was early on in my journey as well, but what resonated with me when I was talking to him was kind of two big things. One was his mentality around reuse, recycle, recreate, and why that is really, really good and really, really important for businesses as well, especially if you're trying to save money, and also trying to save time and resources as well. So that, I think, is one thing that resonated with me. The other thing that resonated with me was, falling back. Creativity is still the key, but falling back on what is the unique selling proposition? What is focusing on that, focusing on, the core strength and value of your product and service, and finding a way to highlight that in the current temperature that we are in, the current zone that we are in this COVID era. And so the way he explains it and brings it back to its kind of core, I think is really, really important. As we might, as marketers, as strategists, we might get bogged down with all the fun, new, trendy things that are happening at the moment. But if you just break it down to like, what is the value my service, my product brings to the market? And then from there, how do I translate that message across that's easy, that's memorable, and to some degree creative as well? How does it break through the noise that is happening all around the environment? Anyway, I don't want to say too much. Check it out. It's a really, really good segment. Hope you guys like it.
The other thing with content that we're doing at the moment is, and obviously with the lockdown situation, not being able to shoot, is looking at ways where we can reuse assets. So someone like Pizza Hut, lots of assets, lots of photos of pizzas, lots of stuff in the background. We can do things with that content in our post-production studios using VFX or all kinds of stuff that will still be able to use that in a new way that the audience won't notice, and potentially give them a whole new message, save them a lot of money, save them a lot of time, certainly save them on traveling and having to go and do anything for shooting. So, someone mentioned it to me the other day. In some ways, we call it reuse, recycle, and recreate, but it's actually almost like a recycling thing. We're actually saving the environment by not having to travel, not having to go and shoot. We're just reusing some old stock, and it can be done. So again, there are different ways that content can be used now, and even if we did it in short form or long form, there are ways and means of doing it without us having to go and shoot right now. And I think we're trying to convince, get clients to go, okay, well, this is good. We have got a great bank of stuff over the last 2 years. The problem is no one knows where it's stored. There's different agencies have got it, but it's about pulling it all together into one big platform where we can go, right, well, let's adapt it to different markets. Adapt it for you for different messages, for your different audiences, and for your different formats that you need across channels. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, actually, you bring up a good point about recycling and leveraging existing assets. I think for small businesses, I know we were talking about like larger, big corporations, but I think small
businesses particularly have got that opportunity. I think, and they have to look to that. I mean, the problem we always find, and this is why at Chimney we built a whole content housing system for clients, but called Edison. But the problem is that these assets get made by agency 1, agency 2, agency 3. It's distributed to media agency 1, media agency D. So it just gets dispersed, whereas the client can't actually see it. It's not housed in one particular and dynamic content creation portal. So they don't know where. That's the problem, really, is half the clients don't know where the content is. They're like, oh, we'd love to do work with you, Mark, but I don't know. TBWA, they've got most of it, I think. And then you ring up TBWA and they're going, yeah, we've got it, but I don't know where it is. It was like from a year ago, it's gone. They just don't house their assets. And again, looking to the future of content is going to be about how it's stored and managed, and how to save money, again, keeping all your assets in one place, that everybody around the world can access at any one time and create and adapt to their own marketplaces, their own messages, their own the different formats and different channels they need. So that we see as being a really big future, and we've invested heavily in that technology. So we've already got a number of clients using it, but that whole use of content, housing, and distribution tech is definitely going to be a big part of the future.
You mentioned it. I think you put it really good, which is brands will have to go back to what they're good at. You know, what's their USP? What do they want to stand for? And therefore derive creativity from that.
And you and Ollie said the same thing. It's time now to really put the brand under the microscope and you know, really go back to what was their original business plan. I mean, we probably haven't looked at that for years, but you know, what is our brand's business plan and what is the essence of our brand? And then look at all the communications that we do. Are we actually on point with all of these, or are some of it we've been doing tactically, so therefore it didn't really matter if it was on message, but you know, that's the time now to consolidate that and make sure, particularly I think for brands who are going to do a lot of tactical work now, they don't want to do the big brand build. They're going to be doing, you know, a lot of trade marketing. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff in retail below the line. They're going to go below the line in a lot of their work because that's what drives immediate revenue. If that's the case, if they're doing a lot of tactical work, then that tactical work has to have a consistent brand message, because then people will still reflect back to the brand. And I think that is where the challenge will be, that they're not just doing something really ticky-tacky over here in Thailand, just it's been churned out, and then we do a really sophisticated piece here in Singapore or something. These brand messages across the region are going to have to be really well coordinated, so that that brand love and that essence of the brand isn't lost on the consumer for the longer term. So when they're not just buying stuff because it's on sale or it's there's a good deal or there's a promo on, you know, it's 2 or 3 years down the track where they still want to go, oh yeah, I'm Coke. I remember Coke. They still had a really nice message behind, even though I was getting it 2 for 1. They still had a really nice look and feel. There was still it still felt good, you know.
Jonathan Chack is the next guy I want to introduce you to. He's a startup coach, mentor. He works for the University of New South Wales. He has his own business as well, but he had this really incredible story when we spoke initially back like episode 12. And with that in mind, like, because the whole episode was around startups, what I feel will resonate to anyone in the business of travel, hospitality, tourism is his mentality and what he teaches when it comes to finding your niche. And that, I believe, is really, really important, especially in what we're trying to do right now. You know, all the principles that we have, all the research that we had is now kind of gone out the window. The hierarchy of needs have changed. The customer's needs have changed. Their pain points have changed as well. And so you need to adjust to that. And at the same time, like, besides going back to your core focus around your USP, it's also trying to look at ways to complement that through like finding your niche as well. Like, do you need to pivot your product or service in order to serve the needs of your customer and your customer's base as well? So this, I think, is really cool. I hope you guys like it. It's episode 12, Jonathan Chack, and we talk about pivoting.
During tough times, you engage with your customer, you talk to them, and try to understand their real pain point and also forecast what's going to happen next after whatever is finished, right? And another example is a lot of restaurants are already looking to implement automatic doors in bathrooms, because that's what I meant by, you know, the mentality has changed. Oh no, hygiene, sanitization, like somehow it's already very embedded. Like, even though, like, you know, this is all over and people still have that kind of okay, automatic door, great, like I like going to that restaurant. Like, subconsciously it makes a very big difference.
Yeah, actually, you made a good point. You know, the hierarchy of needs have changed given what's going on with COVID, and therefore your customers or your potential customers' mentality of a product or a service and its importance relative to everything else has also changed as well. And therefore, as a startup, you know, looking to either build a product or pivot off an existing product or existing service into something else that solves a problem within society, I think that's that's really good. And you made a really good analogy, really good story with regards to that with the university. Is it University of Sydney or
University of New South Wales?
University of New South.
This episode is this clip from this particular episode is an episode that happened quite recently. It's Shankar Rajgopal. He's the CEO of Mindshare Vietnam. And this episode, we spoke a lot about leadership and leadership from different parts and translating that leadership in different parts of Asia as well, because he's been able to be in leadership roles in China and Malaysia and now in Vietnam. And so I was really interested to kind of understand adversity and what he experienced in that. But what we also touched on was predictions over the next 12 to 18 months and how he was talking about the healthcare and education sector being really important. And also, I wanted to touch on the travel, tourism, hospitality sector as well. And he had a really interesting insight around, well, it's going to be a lot more focused around performance-driven marketing, performance-driven results, more so than ever, because brands are looking to recoup the losses incurred through all these lockdown travel restrictions as well. But at the same time, brands, when they're trying to recoup some of their losses, they're going to have to pivot and look at ways of which to derive revenue from various sources that they probably didn't focus on too heavily on before. So you would see previously a lot of people would focus on like the outbound travel, inbound travel if you're in another country as well. So the outbound, inbound travel sector, those overseas tourists coming in or overseas business people coming in, spending up big in their properties, in the hotels, in their kind of operations. But now like they're looking towards, well, how do we try and recruit some of those losses through the local industry as well? So anyway, we speak a little bit about that as well. I think this is really interesting because you've gone through now, hopefully by this point in time in this video, you've gone through like the thinking phase about, well, this is what we want to try and do. Now it's more about like, okay, the ideas that we need to have, they need to somehow produce information, performance-driven results as well. And so hopefully this will help and inspire you to think differently at the same time. So Shankar Rajgopal, CEO of Mindshare Vietnam. Hope you guys like it. Yeah, I definitely understand with regards to healthcare. Obviously, people want to maintain some level of safety in terms of what they're doing. I also think, and it sounds really, I wouldn't say controversial, but just left field, which is travel and tourism. Right now it's decimated, it's gone, it's not there at the moment. Everyone's gearing up for it. You see bits and pieces from different publications that are talking about obviously job cuts with regards within each of those industries and everything like that. But then there's also tourism bodies that are looking at ways of which to improve domestic travel and really kind of pushing that kind of trend. Do you also see from a media perspective, like do you see any kind of changes with regards to that end?
It'll become far more performance driven.
Yeah.
Already travel and tourism has always been very much performance driven because it's all about the number of bookings and then so on and so forth. But it will become, I would say, the importance of performance will be magnified probably 100 times because it's all about recovering the losses, the losses that have happened in the last say few months, and some more months to go. Don't know how long. Definitely yes, that will be a problem. But the good thing about Vietnam, A, obviously the impact has not been as bad as probably most of the countries. B, tourism and travel and tourism, while it's important, is not the main breadwinner of our economy. It's still manufacturing. So yes, the minute there is the continuation of the trade war between the US and China, or any other such incident that happens which will impact or let's say a resurgence of COVID in China, those kind of situations may impact us from a manufacturing standpoint or from an export standpoint. But I would say travel and tourism, yes, while it is a critical category industry, I would say, since it's not the number one industry like say or some of our neighbors, I would say the fact that the Vietnamese government as well as the a lot of the private sector is promoting domestic tourism,
Yep.
that should help to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of the year we should be able to recover to some extent, because that's actually the key period for
Yeah.
international travelers to come here.
Yeah, and also I think from a messaging point of view, like it comes, what separates different destination points, the USP is safety.
Absolutely,
And
yes.
I think that how brands or how organizations, how tourism boards use that to their advantage to tell the story, I think is really important. And then obviously having that performance element as well, which will drive the kind of quick actions that are coming through.
Which is where the messaging, so when we talk about personalization at scale, that's basically what it means. You have to serve different message. I mean, this is quite a unique case, but in general, in digital media, in communications, we talk about personalization at scale, which has become the buzzword, but actually is quite relevant, is quite important, because in the age of micro-segmenting, it is impossible that you serve one communication to your entire audience. It simply doesn't make any sense.
Right.
We have large amounts of data, and again in Mindshare we group them. We really distill the data that we have in-house, as well as what our clients have, also with our partners. We really try to understand the single portrait of the consumer,
Right.
And segment the consumer into various buckets that are there, basis their behavior, not claim data, and serving of different communication, different messages which are most relevant. We have done that over the last year and a half, and clearly we have seen an increase in all the relevant metrics. The connection, the engagement, and obviously the chances of the person being more favorable towards that particular metric is quite high.
Yeah, nice. To finish this all off, I wanted to introduce you to Jarek Robbins. He is a son of a legend. He's Tony Robbins' son, but a legend in himself. He is a best-selling author. He's helped thousands and thousands of people across the world get through the challenges they're facing. He's a performance-based coach. And on this particular episode, it's episode 9, we really dive deep when it comes to resilience and change, and I let him speak about it and talk about it more. We shared some really funny moments about like how his logo kind of came about, and the funny resemblance to the late great Kobe Bryant's Nike episode as well. But besides that, like, he kind of gave away these two big takeaways that I got away from it. First and foremost, the first one being focus on what matters to you. So focus on the core strengths that you have, despite everything that's happening all around the world, the despair, the negativity, the doom and gloom. If you can focus on your core strengths, then that in itself is the first step in order to become more resilient. And then the second one was just tips that he had, daily tips that he provided for viewers out there or listeners out there around how to build those resilience and change coming through. So episode 9, Jarek Robbins, check it out, full episode, resilience and change. Hope you guys like it.
What you do, you have to make sure that whatever opportunity you go with is an opportunity you're very, very well trained in and very, very well versed in. Now is not the time to go try something you've never done before, hoping to just win the jackpot. Like, not a good idea in times of chaos. Instead, focus on your core strengths. Focus on your really talented, where your core education is, where your core knowledge is, and where your core experience is, and find incredible opportunities around that specific area of life. And if you do that, there's a great book for anyone who decides to go after those great opportunities. There's a great book called The Most Important Thing Illuminated by a gentleman named Howard Marks. He talks about that a good deal is a good deal regardless of no matter where the market is, and a bad deal is a bad deal regardless of where the market is. So he trains you, and he's a gentleman that when he writes a letter or a newsletter, Warren Buffett says, I stop everything and immediately go read it. So he's a very, very powerful gentleman when it comes to investing and learning how to do that. And he helps train the mind to understand, to not get all hyped up over all the things people try to sell us as a good deal, but to understand what really makes something a good deal and how to identify it regardless of how the world markets are doing. But
And
that's something I would train my brain to look for, because if you understand the philosophy of what a good deal investing in real estate would look like, then you know what a good deal buying a business would look like, and then you know what a good deal in buying a product or a service would look like, and you know what a good deal in getting married or not married would look like.
right,
Because a good deal is always a good deal.
quickly, like, what are 2 tactical things that you could give to people who are listening or watching today who are going through that kind of resilience and wanting to change?
Sure. I'll give you a list of 5. Number 1, 10 minutes of meditation every single day. Number 2, 7.5 to 8 hours of high quality sleep. Number 3, find something to look forward to every day, something you're excited about in the future. Number 4, do a random act of kindness and help someone every day. And number 5, go do 30 minutes of exercise each day. If you do those 5 things, it will build your mental, emotional, physical resilience in times like this.
There you have it. I hope you guys like the videos, the little clips, the highlights from past episodes out there. I think it's really useful for those who are in the travel, hospitality, and tourism, or in any industry that is a service-based industry as well. I think it's one of those things where it reminds you, like looking back at some of these videos, it reminds you on how you want to operate or what got you in as a marketer, as a leader, as a strategist, as a business owner, and how are we going to move forward in this world where COVID is going to be a common thing. It's going to be something that's just prevalent in the industry for years to come. And so looking at ways to plan ahead for it through, going back to USP all the way through to pivoting, and then looking at ways to kind of add performance-based results to your marketing spend, I think is going to be really important. So I think it's going to either give you new things to think about or reinforce some of the things that you're doing at the moment. Hopefully you can share that with your boss and go, hey, look, this is what other people are saying as well, so we should be doing it, and it validates what I'm thinking as well. So look, I hope it adds value. Please like, share, comment, all that great stuff. It helps me, helps the community, helps me get that 1% better each episode as we go. So I hope you guys are having a great day. I'll see you in the next episode.